All right, so what a weekend we had in Spa, the sprint race weekend. And unfortunate end to our sprint race, but a good pace that we had in the main event.
I've had a chat with the R&D team about the new parts, and we're happy that they've been integrated into the car okay. With any luck, you'll be able to feel the improvement, so go and give them a try.
All right, and as we're coming into this weekend, we're waiting for our new ICE. We were worried there that the ICE was going to go out on us, but we'll be able to swap out to a new one here in this weekend, and we're really looking forward to this race compared to last season. We didn't do so great last season, but we're gonna have to wait and see. So as always, we're gonna go ahead and knock out practice and then see you guys for qualifying. All right, so here we are in the rain in Zandvoort for qualifying. Our times not so well. 1:12.9 for the hards, 1:12.6 for the mediums, and the 1:11.055 for the softs. So it's not going to matter with the rain here coming across the line. And we get 1:26.187 on these wet tires. I was not feeling comfortable at all. But when it came time for the final run of qualifying one, we're on the intermediates, and you see in the top right, we didn't make it in time across the line to set a new time, so we're going to be stuck back in P18 for the race. All right, so very unfortunate for us. We couldn't get out onto the track and across the line fast enough for us to run those intermediates. And Pierre Gasly and Aiden Jackson unable to set times. This is very unfortunate for them. Pierre Gasly running so well. He would have been in the top 10 for a start. But Callie Mayer makes it into Q2. I don't know if she made it in for the first time or not, but yeah. And then our teammate Mick Schumacher making it up into P12 on those intermediates, and everybody's running a 1:22 or so. But we're looking forward to a dry race, so nothing but improvement from here, hopefully. As we're looking for hopefully a better position at the end of the race compared to last race in Spa for P10 after that incident. But without further ado, let's get to the main race.
For years, the passionate Dutch fans have been easy to find trackside in races across Europe. Here this weekend, it's even easier to find the Dutch fans as they have a race to call their own once again. A warm welcome to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe, of course, as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. 4 lefts and 10 rights make up the 14 corners of the narrow and demanding Zandvoort circuit, with plenty of peaks and valleys over the course of the 2.6-mile lap, which will demand absolute concentration from our drivers here today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Russell, Perez, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Joe, Mick Schumacher, Sargent, Mayer, Sonoda, Magnussen, Johnson, Gasly, and Aiden Jackson rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, the regulations aren't new anymore, but the teams and the drivers are still coming to terms with them. I firmly believe it's also track specific. We've seen some wheel-to-wheel racing throughout the year. Some tracks lend themselves better to it than others. I'd like to see it at every race in the whole season. Is that too much to ask?
All right, so a rainy qualifying, and I'm feeling a lot better seeing those times from practice because I believe we did run a 1:11, a low 1:11 on the softs, so we'll have to wait and see what we can do here. And yeah, so we're probably gonna go medium to soft and see what we can do.
formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
All right, instead of the projected tires strategy, we're going to go with the opposite. We're going to be going from mediums to softs to see what kind of ground we can make up towards the end of this race, even though it was unfortunate for us to finish in P18 for Q1. Alongside Gasly and Jackson here in the back of the pack. 5 red lights are on, and we are off. Could have been a better start. The Alfa Romeo has to our left, and then the Sauber ahead of us. We had to move to the inside, try not to make any contact. We're coming up along our teammate of Mick Schumacher. And we're up between Logan Sargent and Esteban Ocon. There's a little bit of contact there on this tire. No damage. So we're coming in behind Qualy Mayer. Qualy Mayer off to a better start than Aiden Jackson this time around. As we're coming around the bend, the bankment there was... I was a little iffy about how I was going to run the bank this season with the Aston Martin. But we are slotting in, and we end up going wide. So Schumacher moves on the inside. We don't fight it. Don't want to risk any unintentional damage to each other's cars, as our goal is to try to get into the points, and hopefully he'll be able to follow us into the points as well. But we're gonna have to wait and see. A little bit of shading issues going on with the Aston Martin. We're still dealing with that highlighting issue in the cinematic mode, as you saw there for a split second. If you guys, once again, if you guys know how to fix that, please let me know in the comments. That way I can fix it. Or I've been trying to run my settings around as best as I can, but the higher I put my settings, the harder it is to run the game where it's clear like this. So at the end of lap 1, we are up into P16, so 2 positions gain. You can see Magnussen there on the inside with momentum, dumping his DRS, trying to make a move on us. So we let him go ahead and give his way, because I know in lap 3 we're going to be getting DRS. And we fend off Gasly for now. But it's my turn to make a move on Magnussen. We're going to be in his toe. No DRS yet, but with that toe, we're going to be able to move and wait for the last second to make a possible move on the inside. Almost coming in contact with our teammate Schumacher, but we end up backing off just in time. Give him the space he needs and push Magnussen off to defend. Lap 3 now. Magnussen's behind us. Schumacher's ahead of us. We are in a big DRS train with everybody else here as we start lap 4. Schumacher on the inside, I'm on the outside. I'm glad I hit that grass, because I would have slammed into the back of Qualy Mayer. As me and Schumacher are still side by side coming through sector 1. He's not wanting to give up his position because he has the faster tires, but we have the better racing line coming through that bend, and we're able to make an easier position on Qualy Mayer. Not only because of pace, but because we had that better racing line coming out of that double left hairpin. But moving on to lap 8 now, we're finally able to catch up to Oscar Piastri. Magnussen passing up Qualy Mayer as well. And we're going to try to make the same move that we did on Qualy Mayer on Oscar Piastri. This time he's on the hard tires instead of the soft, so it's a lot easier for us, and he gives way. So we're up into P13 on lap 8. So next up, our prior teammate from last season, Logan Sargent, and his teammate Esteban Ocon in the Williams. And right now, our pace is just under a second, so 0.8 seconds between myself and Logan Sargent in the Williams. We finally are able to catch up and get up to his gearbox there on the end of lap 9 with DRS. Another DRS train going on as everybody is seeing action here on the main straight. This track, seeing action every lap with the toe and DRS. So we make our way past Logan Sargent. Next up is his teammate Esteban Ocon. As we're getting close to the end of the tire life here for these mediums, and we're trying to make the same move that we did on Piastri and Mayer, but it's not quite going to be enough with those soft tires having a little bit more grip than these mediums. From what I felt like, he probably was taking care of those softs better than I was taking care of the mediums. But the end of lap 10, we're trying to make a move on Esteban Ocon. Yet again, another DRS train. And we're trying to wait and see who goes into the pits. We're halfway through the grid, so we could either gain a lot or lose a lot when it comes to our pit stop. So we make a move on Esteban Ocon, and we're trying to make a move on Zhou Guanyu, but it's not going to be quite enough. You can see Hulkenberg and Bottas ahead as we're trying to take our racing line as best as possible towards the end of life on these medium tires. You can see Hamilton, Leclerc, and Verstappen going into the pits. We're going to be side by side with, I believe it is Zhou Guanyu. And we're going to be coming out P4 after the first set of pit stops come in. So Sainz, Russell, and Perez are staying out for a late pit stop. End of lap 12 now. And we have a train of cars coming in behind us. We're going to be going in. You see Ocon, Piastri, Zhou, Sargent, Magnussen, and Gasly. All of us. 6 cars coming into the pits for their pit stops. And I believe that was the Red Bull of Sergio Perez as well that was ahead of us. So we're going to be swapping over to the soft tires. No traffic to wait on us, so we didn't lose any positions. Ocon is directly behind us, and that is Nico Hulkenberg ahead of us, the other Alfa Romeo has. So we're going to have to be able to catch up to him. And as we're coming out, you can see 7.3. It drops down to 2.9, so we're about 3 seconds off the gap with Nico Hulkenberg in the Alfa Romeo Haas, and I believe he made a pit. I didn't see it. We'll have to wait and see. But at the end of lap 13, we have our other drivers coming in for the pits. You see Schumacher, Sargent, and Mayer coming in for their pit stops. And we're back into P10, so we're no gain, no loss. So that overcut or undercut or whatever you want to call it didn't really help us in our favor. So we have Hulkenberg now 2.1 seconds ahead. And lap 18, we're finally able to try to make a move. We have DRS on him. We had to wait, and we're using that outside line to try to get as much momentum as we can. We make a move, switchback sort of move here as we're coming through sector 1, coming into this hairpin, and trying to use the same move. And we spun it up a little bit, but we're able to use the soft tires to our advantage as Hulkenberg is on those mediums. So sector 2, we're able to get ahead of Hulkenberg. Now we're up into P9, so that's at least 2 points as of right now. 2 laps later, our teammate Mick Schumacher coming through sector 3, and he's got an engine failure. So I believe that was Callie Mayer in the Connor Sport, or Aiden Jackson, but then Callie Mayer. We'll have to wait and see here in a second. That was Callie Mayer, then Aiden Jackson, yeah. But lap 24, we're finally able to catch up to Valtteri Bottas in the Alpine, and you can see the momentum that we have on him. And we make that move on the inside. We're holding him to the outside. He does keep momentum, but we have the better tire traction here on these soft tires. That's basically going to call it. We're going to be defending against Valtteri Bottas for P8.
All right, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
So another excellent win from Ferrari. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I want to know if that was as easy as it looked. An absolute masterclass today.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again. So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Carlos Sainz certainly wasn't someone to scoff about. His ability to follow race strategies throughout with pinpoint precision has to be commended.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. It was also a strong Grand Prix from Haas F1 this weekend. Fantastic work from the American team to move themselves further up the table. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
All right, so there we are at P8 finish after an upsetting qualifying there in the rain. And we took a gamble with the tire life on our soft tires as our teammate Mick Schumacher was unable to finish the race due to an engine failure, most likely. But we had a good race, we had a good fight. Took us a little bit to catch up to Valtteri Bottas, the guy who's retiring at the end of the season. And can't wait to see who's going to replace him. Like I said, I believe I said it at the beginning of the video or the last episode. But Max and Sergio Perez, not to a great start here after the Dutch Grand Prix. I believe Max Verstappen won the last 4 races after not doing so well earlier in the season. But yeah, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc front row lockout and 1-2 finish with Lewis Hamilton finishing in P3 ahead of his teammate. And those standings, let's see. George Russell trying to close the gap on Max Verstappen as well as Lewis Hamilton. They are tied. Both Mercedes drivers tied for 2nd place. Sergio Perez currently P3 with that tiebreaker. But yeah, so Lewis Hamilton, George Russell for P2 in the driver standings. And then Red Bull, Mercedes closing the gap on Red Bull, about 29 points between Mercedes and Red Bull, and Ferrari increasing that gap between themselves and McLaren trying to close in on Mercedes, as we're still trying to close in on McLaren. But yeah, so we're gonna have to wait and see what happens in the next episode. We'll see you guys then.